HMS Queen Elizabeth was the lead ship of her class of dreadnought battleships built for the Royal Navy in the early 1910s, and was often used as a flagship. She served in World War I as part of the Grand Fleet, and participated in the inconclusive action of the 19th of August. Her service during the war generally consisted of routine patrols and training in the North Sea. She and the other super-dreadnought battleships were the first of the type to be powered by oil instead of coal. The Queen Elizabeth later served in several theaters during World War II, and was ultimately scrapped in 1948. Design and description. The Queen Elizabeth-class ships were designed to form a fast squadron for the fleet that was intended to operate against the leading ships of the opposing battle line. This required maximum offensive power and a speed several knots faster than any other battleship to allow them to defeat any type of ship. Queen Elizabeth had a length overall of 643 feet 9 inches, a beam of 90 feet 7 inches and a deep draft of 33 feet. She had a normal displacement of 32,590 long tons and displaced 33,260 long tons at deep load. She was powered by two sets of Brown Curtis steam turbines, each driving two shafts, using steam from 24 Yarrow boilers. The turbines were rated at 75,000 shp and intended to reach a maximum speed of 24 knots. Queen Elizabeth had a range of 5,000 nautical miles at a cruising speed of 12 knots. Her crew numbered 1,262 officers and ratings in 1920 while serving as a flagship. The Queen Elizabeth class was equipped with 8 breech-loading 15-inch MKI guns in 4 twin-gun turrets, in 2 super-firing pairs fore and aft of the superstructure, designated A, B, X, and Y, from front to rear. Queen Elizabeth was the only ship of her class that mounted all 16 of the designed BL 6-inch Mk-12 guns in casemates. 12 of these were mounted along the broadside of the vessel amidships, and the remaining 4 were grouped in the stern abreast X and Y turrets. These latter guns were quickly found to be too close to the water and were frequently flooded at high speed or heavy seas. 2 were removed and the other pair were shifted to positions on the forecastle deck near the aft funnel, protected by gun shields. In May 1915, the ship's anti-aircraft armament consisted of 2 quick-firing 3-inch 20 hundredweight MKI guns. They were fitted with 4 submerged 21-inch torpedo tubes, 2 on each broadside. Queen Elizabeth was completed with 2 fire control directors fitted with 15-foot rangefinders. 1 was mounted above the conning tower, protected by an armored hood, and the other was in the spotting top above the tripod foremast. Each turret was also fitted with a 15-foot rangefinder. The main armament could be controlled by B turret as well. The secondary armament was primarily controlled by directors mounted on each side of the compass platform on the foremast once they were fitted in. March 1917. Although 1 temporary director was fitted in November to December 1916, the waterline belt of the Queen Elizabeth class consisted of crop-cemented armor that was 13 inches thick over the ship's vitals. The gun turrets were protected by 11 to 13 inches of KC armor and were supported by barbets 7 to 10 inches thick. The ships had multiple armored decks that ranged from 1 to 3 inches in thickness. The main conning tower was protected by 13 inches of armor. After the Battle of Jutland, 1 inch of high-tensile steel was added to the main deck over the magazines, and additional anti-flash equipment was added in the magazines. Construction and career. Queen Elizabeth, named in honor of Elizabeth I of England, was launched on the 16th of October 1913 at Portsmouth, Hampshire, and entered service in January 1915 during World War I. While still undergoing testing in the Mediterranean, the ship was sent to the Dardanelles for the Allied attempt to knock the Ottoman Empire out of the war. She was the only dreadnought battleship to participate, though a number of battle cruisers and pre-dreadnought battleships were also involved. She became the flagship for the preliminary naval operations in the Dardanelles campaign, leading the first line of British battleships in the Battle of the 18th of March 1915. During the attempted military invasion of the Gallipoli on the 25th of April, Queen Elizabeth was the flagship for General Sir Ian Hamilton, commander of the Mediterranean Expeditionary Force. However, after the sinking of HMS Goliath by a Turkish destroyer on the 12th of May, Queen Elizabeth was immediately withdrawn to a safer position. She joined Admiral Hugh Evan Thomas's 5th Battle Squadron of the Grand Fleet based at Scapa Flow, but she missed the Battle of Jutland due to being in dock for maintenance. Interwar period. Between the wars, she was the flagship of the Atlantic Fleet from 1919 to 1924. The future First Sea Lord John H.D. Cunningham served aboard her as Master of the Fleet in 1922. From 1924 she was the flagship of the Mediterranean Fleet. Following a refit, she rejoined the Mediterranean Fleet in 1927, went to the Atlantic Fleet in 1929, and later that year returned to the Mediterranean, where she served until 1937. During the 1930s she participated in the non-intervention blockade during the Spanish Civil War. She was rebuilt twice between the World Wars. In 1926, 1927 bulges were added, the funnels were trunked, 4 4-inch guns were added, and a new foretop was installed. In her 1937 to 1941 rebuild, she was fitted with a tower bridge in place of her old bridge. Her 6-inch guns were removed and replaced by 24.5-inch guns and several smaller anti-aircraft guns. Horizontal armor was added, engines and boilers were replaced, and the elevation of her main battery was increased to 30 degrees. Deck armor was increased to 5 inches over the magazines, 2.5 inches over the machinery, while the new 4.5 guns had between 1 and 2 inches of armor. She also received facilities for aircraft with a launching catapult amidships. New fire control equipment was installed, including the HACS MKIVAA fire control system and the Admiralty Fire Control Table MK7 for surface fire control of the main armament. This reconstruction was completed in January 1941, when Britain had been at war for over a year. Second World War. When her reconstruction was complete, Queen Elizabeth rejoined the Mediterranean Fleet, covering the evacuation of Crete in June 1941. She, along with HMS Valiant, was mined and seriously damaged by Italian frogmen in an attack on the 19th of December 1941 in shallow water in the harbour at Alexandria, Egypt, with the loss of 9 men of her complement. Although badly damaged with her draft increased to 41.8 feet, Queen Elizabeth was not grounded on the harbour bottom. Her decks were clear and the Italian crews were captured. For this reason, the British maintained the illusion of full operational status, to conceal the weak British position in the Mediterranean. During the period, the two ships were patched and refloated. However, this concealing action lasted through a few days only, whereas the Valiant went back into service after many months and the Queen Elizabeth after more than a year and a half. Following completion of temporary repairs in an Alexandria dry dock in June 1942, She steamed through the Suez Canal and around Africa to the Navy Yard in Norfolk, Virginia in the United States. From September of that year until June 1943, she was comprehensively repaired. Queen Elizabeth went to the Home Fleet in July 1943, and in December she left for the Eastern Fleet, which she joined in January 1945. She took part in raids on Japanese bases in the Dutch East Indies, and was placed in reserve in August 1945. The vessel was paid off in June and scrapped in July 1948. Acclaimed model. A model of HMS Queen Elizabeth by renowned marine model maker Norman A. Orr is held by the National Maritime Museum. Citations